who's our target audience? And I'm really curious to see who you think our target audience is, and how does that correlate to who I? Because we haven't really discussed that.
We haven't. I would think it would be the band between 30 and 50.
30 and 50.
Yeah, between 30 years of age to about 50.
And any sexual?
No, don't go there, Mark. But probably the younger generation. It wouldn't be our generation.
You don't think it's our generation?
Nah.
No?
No.
They're not...
We're just nuts. Nah.
They're not podcasting, TikToking, Instagramming or anything?
Nah. I mean, when you're mucking about at home and when you YouTube, the type of people that you listen to and their ages, does it matter?
No, I don't think it matters to me, but I'm pretty sure the algorithms in all these platforms that I do use, and the one I use mostly is TikTok and Instagram.
Right.
More recent times I've been using YouTube.
But on YouTube, I mean, usually the videos are quite long. If you want to follow a subject matter, geography, history, politics, shares, business, whatever it is, would you prefer to view someone who's our age group, or would you listen to a 25-year-old, for example? Does it matter?
It actually doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me. I care more about the content.
I have a problem listening to a 25-year-old. I mean, I care about the content too, because I would struggle with a 25-year-old telling me about a subject matter that has never been involved with. So, for instance, if I wanted to tell me anything about finances, my attitude would be, well, you've just come out of school. You've barely worked a couple of years. Why would I listen to you?
But then it depends on what area of finance, because as the listeners will know, you've put your head in the sand in the crypto world.
Yeah, I have.
And so a 25-year-old could probably educate you really well, and me, on
no doubt.
on these bitcoins and all the other cryptos that are out there.
There's no doubt about that.
So that's a different type of financial advice. Not once again, none of us are giving financial advice here, and it's
opinions.
Just opinions. But that's a different type of financial advice that is modern and dynamic and exciting and so forth, as compared to back in the day insurance bonds and financial planning and for estate planning and things like that. I agree. Like a 25-year-old telling me how to set up my estate and get a pension and all this sort of stuff. I agree. They don't have enough experience. They're just getting it off a book and whatnot. But if they're talking about modern strategies with modern instruments and so forth, I'd listen.
But if that's true on that scale, why would a 25-year-old listen to someone who's 55 and 58? Wouldn't that work also in reverse?
No, because smart kids want to learn from the mistakes of the elders.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I've never seen
smart kids.
I've never seen smart kids. Yeah, I've never seen young adults.
You'd actually be amazed. Like you think about in your family and family of families and whatnot, the connection between grandparents and grandkids.
Yes, right? Strong.
And it's super strong, right?
No, it's super strong.
In stable families and whatnot. No,
super strong.
Super strong.
Yeah.
And that goes on. It doesn't stop at 15, 17.
Oh, no.
That bond generally stays really close until, touch wood, and the elderly person passes away.
Oh, 100%. Look, I see my kids and, I've got the 30-year-old, 29-year-old and the 24-year-old. They're pretty close to their grandparents, which is a great thing, and the bond's really, really strong.
And why do you think that is?
I would think the grandparents over the years have been more comforting towards their grandchildren, which I always used to question. Why weren't you so comforting when we were growing up? But I kind of get that.
Now you got a prince.
Behaviour because I've got a prince, so I've often said that the prince comes first. But it's so true, and I think grandchildren respect their grandparents a hell of a lot. And
so I agree with you 100%, and I think that correlates to real life.
Yeah.
And so I think a 25-year-old's more likely to take some advice or guidance or mentoring from a 55, 60-year-old than they would from a 45, 50-year-old parent.
I'm not too sure about that. I think kids now, from what I've seen, I'll say that kids, young adults are quick, they're fast. If they want to go out and find something fast, they will do it, no matter what. Maybe that happened in our generation. I'm not too sure about the younger generation. And they've got access to, I mean, we didn't have internet when we were growing up.
No, but they don't have access to wisdom.
Interesting.
AI hasn't covered off on wisdom yet.
Is everyone going to go onto that AI
I checked
journey?
this morning. I checked before I made this stupid comment. Does AI cover on wisdom?
Yeah.
Wisdom isn't. That's a learned thing, right? And not everyone has it. But the grandparents and the elderly people that have that, there's a connection there that younger people. Yeah, I'm not saying people are lining up to see Grandma Pa over there and get all this wisdom. I'm not being that chivalry about it. But when the moment calls for it, you'd be amazed how a younger generation resonates with the older, it's the second generation above them. And the grandparent is the perfect case in point.
No, it is. But when it comes to finances, and I'm a bit tired about this subject, I would refuse for the grandparents to try and give, and it's got nothing to do with me,
You can't refuse anything,
with my background, because I used to be a financial planner. That means nothing to me. But I would hate my parents to sit down with my children and give them that adage: work hard, save all your money, don't do stupid things, don't eliminate your mistakes, and you'll be fine.
That's not wisdom.
You'd be surprised what grandparents do. That's wisdom.
That's bread, butter, and Vegemite. That's every old person says that, right?
That's
not wisdom. Wisdom is along the lines, and I'm referring more to I'm resonating to when my grandparents,
like we all do.
Yeah, and I'm referring to like what kind of person you want to be, how you treat people, respect, integrity, honesty. That generation, I believe, if they have a good relationship with their grandchildren, instills a lot of that. Because parents don't have the time for a lot of that because they're busy, making a life for themselves
doing
and
their
their
stuff.
children. Especially in this day and age where there's two income families. It's very rare you have one income family, and so grandparents fill that void. Not financial advice. So I would never go to a grandparent and say, do you reckon I should buy 20 cars this year or not?
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. Yeah,
so
I kind of get that.
That's not the type of connection I had, and I don't think a lot of them have.
But parents having this, I mean, both today in modern society, both have to work. They can still spend a lot of time with their children. I mean, they're just excuses.
They are, but life's fast. So if you
because
think
we make it fast.
I've got younger kids, right?
Yeah.
I've got a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old, right?
Yeah.
And sure, I make time for them. But a lot of my time is in driving them to basketball, driving them to football.
But that's being a parent.
Watching them. Yeah. So between balancing your work, spend time as a couple with your partner because you can't neglect that, and then spending time with the kids. You don't actually, for me, anecdotally, I don't get a lot of time just to sit there and be philosophical with my kids.
Yeah, okay, fair point.
Right? Most of it is impact driven. They've done something, they've been dishonest. Then I'll sit there and have a conversation about, when you grow up, you're dishonest, you won't have any legs left.
The Italian thing, the mafia thing comes out. I need to ask, what do you do when you get upset with your kids? Come on, let it out.
Not as much as I'd like to.
Right.
But it's a really busy lifestyle.
But kids remember though that you took them to their sporting events and driving around.
I'm very invested in my kids. Like I try and do as much as I can with them, but I don't get that time like grandparents get. That special time. Like, one of our children, I know, with his grandma, and this is a very simple thing, but growing up, Jody worked, and Oliver, her son, he spent a lot of time with his grandmother, and he to this day still remembers how his grandmother used to spend hours and hours with him playing with supermarket bags.
Yeah, it's funny that
and they would do storytelling, and they would laugh and whatnot. Yeah. And through that, you're learning how to interact. You're learning.
True.
And so parents. Fantastic are the parents that can spend hours playing with grocery bags with their
grandparents
kids.
At another level.
The grandparents, they fill that nice void.
They really do. Because my kids often speak about when they used to sleep over at the grandparents. It's still special.
Yeah,
so
it's different.
Right? No, I kind of get that.
Yeah, and it's without boundaries in many respects.
It is without boundaries.
The discipline is for
it's
parents.
Not there.
And
Yeah.
and the grandparents, you know,
Yeah, give them chocolate, give them lollies, give them ice cream.
hype the shit out of them.
All
And
that
then,
sort of
yeah,
stuff.
Well, that's karma, right? So
Yeah,
all the grief we gave our parents, that's how they fix it
exactly.
up. Let's square it right up. So,
So true.
but just going back to the demographic that we're targeting here, our target audience. So you think it's 30 to 50?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think, and probably more towards the 30-year-olds.
Yeah, so we are not dissimilar.
Not that far away?
Yeah, I was more the 25 to 40 zone.
Okay.
Because I think a lot, if people who take on board and come on our journey on this podcast and whatnot, they'll learn a lot from our experiences and the mistakes we've made and the wins we've had, and hopefully we're providing a balanced view on a lot of that. But I think there's takeaways from that, and what a great sense of humour we've both got.
At least this is what you think.
And so if you learn and laugh, that's the best. That's what
really
did I say?
is.
Laugh out loud.
Yeah.
Learn out loud.
Yeah.
Learn and laugh out loud. All the L's, right?
I totally agree. Remember in the last episode or episode 2? Look, I can't remember that. If I had my time again, I would take more chances.
Yes.
I would love to see young adults not to go on that narrative of minimising risk.
Playing safe.
Yeah, I hate that. It hardly works. It's who I am.
But there's a
fine line.
No, there's a line within there that you need to add when you say, take those risks and whatever. They have to be successful, in my opinion, or otherwise you just get really lucky. They have to be calculated risks.
No, 100%.
So what's the plan, right? Don't plan to fail, plan to succeed. But what's the plan? And if it's going to the moon, that's okay, because we might get some stars on the way through. But like there's no way. For example, I could throw the gauntlet at my age and say, I'm going to do whatever I want to do, and I'm going to be a model for I don't know what's the latest clothing, Diesel or whatever. I'm showing my age now, but whatever the latest industry clothing. What's the chances of me being a model for that?
Yeah, no,
right?
I kind of get that.
So you have to have a plan that is sensible and it doesn't have to be achievable, but sensible.
I just don't. I mean, I'm talking about the younger generation, but even now generation.
But it applies to everybody.
Yeah, it's not. Like, I don't like that narrative that if they're building a career. And they've been there for 6 months, 5 years. I don't want people to think this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. There are options available. Sorry?
Unless you love it.
Unless you love it, yes. Yes, there's no doubt about that. And
so you think the younger generation of today are not taking those risks?
I think they give up a little bit too early, but there's a plethora of options available, not only to the younger generation, but even to our generations. Look, I'm retired, Mark, and as I said, I'm an opportunist. There's a plethora of options available to me now.
Yeah.
I just don't like that narrative. We're going to do one thing or two things for the next 40 years to find out what? To find out nothing. I want people to be a little bit more motivated about their lives. And you know what? If they're big dreamers and they're prepared to put a bit of effort into it, the world's their oyster.
Couldn't agree more.
And look at the difference between you and me. We're not that far apart. I mean, you're 55, I'm 58. You're gung-ho, 1,000 miles per hour, doing 1,600 things in one day, and I'm just loving life, doing nothing. Two different people, but yet our objectives is probably doing exactly the same thing, like looking at to do bigger and better things. It doesn't even matter the way that you get there. Just bloody get there. Like, do something.
Yeah.
Just do. I mean, I say to all my kids, just do something, make it work. And if it doesn't work, try again. And if you try again, go through another angle. And I think this is what life's all about. We've only got one life.
Yep. Last time I checked, only one.
Do you know, have you ever
Make
been...
the most out of it.
Have you ever been in a situation where you've gone, I was only 25, 30 years of age yesterday. And often when I get up and have a shower, I'm thinking, geez, how is it that I've reached 58 already? Soon I'll be 60. Look, it doesn't bother me, but time goes quick. Make use of your time. Like, start flying now.
Yeah. Can't say I do that. I don't really live life with rearview mirrors on. I'm always forward looking.
Yeah,
it's always,
which is important.
For me, it's always, what am I doing next? What am I doing next? It's moving forward. I very rarely reflect. It's the way I've always lived.
That's your build, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the way my DNA. Because, the weakness of that is maybe I don't learn from some of my lessons because I don't reflect enough. But the positive is that I'm not burdened by any of it.
Oh, good on you.
And so, but that's a bit philosophical. But yeah, I'm very positive. I'm a never die wonder person, and as arrogant as this statement might sound, there's actually nothing in this world I don't think I can do if I don't put my head to it.
That's true.
Nothing.
I think that applies to everyone.
And if you have that mentality, it's a winner's mentality.
I think it is.
Now, the reality is, I'm sure people will find things that I can't do, even if I put my mind to it. I can't have a baby, not yet. Technology might get there one day.
AI will help you.
No, not but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It's a flippant comment, but it's a mindset. And I think successful people have fantastic mindset.
Yeah, they do.
Because if you're a negative mindset, you're a defeatist mindset, it's really you're already behind the eight ball to achieve whatever goal you're trying to achieve.
And the other thing that I guess is just as important, who you hang around with is who you become. So if you're hanging around...
I'm becoming Greek.
I'm becoming Italian. And we're both Aussie born. Are you Aussie born? You are, aren't you? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're both Aussie born. Because I find that if people hang around, not only negative people, but if they're not working and all they're doing is they're whinging and, they're just coasting along life, you don't want to be with those people. You want to be on a train that goes 1,000 miles per hour. Because I can guarantee you may not get it right for 5, 10 or 15 years. But if you're always swinging the bat, you're going to get there. I mean, there's no other way that I can explain it. You will get there. Because if I look at your background or my background, we're not anything special. My fear...
Well, speak for yourself.
No, but that's reality. My fear was that I was never going to make it. That's what drove me.
And when you say make it, what is make it?
Make it is basically...
define that for you. Because I think it's make it is different for different people.
No,
right?
look, it really is. So it wasn't the house in Toorak and the 16 cars in the garage. Make it was to be in a situation where I'm comfortable. If I had the resources to travel, I would do so, but not depend on handouts from the government, not to depend on age pensions and things like that. So for you, that was a bare minimum.
For you, make it was more financially driven.
Well, yes, because unfortunately, I mean, I hate people that say money's not important. Bullshit. It is.
I'm going to challenge you on this one.
Oh, don't.
No, I will.
You don't want to challenge me
and I'm not suggesting money's not important.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's the be-all or end-all.
Yeah, I know you're not.
But I don't want to hear the comments, you know what, I'm happy, money's not that important, but you're whinging about money. I don't want to hear about...
Well, have you ever heard me whinge about money?
Okay, let's go for it.
I don't whinge.
Okay.
Do I, Jody? My view on that, I take it, so for me, making it is, and I'm quite passionate about this, is I wake up every day loving what I do.
Yep.
And for me, that's zen. Like, if I don't have that, something's wrong in me.
Yeah.
And so for me to make it is like, I just love what I do.
Okay.
And in most circumstances, as long as in your plan, like, I'm not trying to discount that money's not important.
Because in parallel.
Because you can't live life with any level of money. You can't just...
Right.
You can't... It'd be very difficult for someone to have raise a family, bring up those kids, do everything you love, and money doesn't play a role in that, right?
No, but it does.
No, I'm saying that's what I'm saying. I agree with it. We're in agreement there, right? But I was just curious on when you say make it, you were very focused on the financial aspect of it.
For what it could provide me, yes.
Yeah. I'm not passing judgment. Yeah. I'm just saying how there's different make it's, right? For me, making it was because I always believed money would come, right? I've never been concerned where's my dollar going to come from. For me, it's like I want to be passionate about what I do every day. I want to love what I do every day. And fortunately, in the world that I operate in, if you're doing that and you're loving what you're doing, the money just comes with it.
Okay, granted.
Right. So now, if I wanted to be, my passion was to smell flowers every day, then unless I'm a gardener or work in a nursery or something like that, the money's not going to come, right? No. So I'm not trying to be flippant about it. But for me, growing up, the money wasn't my goal. And I used to blow money left, right and centre. So it's, many people who know me very well will tell you I don't value money that much because I'm not stressed about where it's going to come from next. It's more about love what you do, make sure it's on the right path, make sure it's taking you to, I don't think you can have one sole goal. I think you've got to have multiple goals that sit in a basket. And financial stability is probably one. It sits in that basket, but it's not at the top of the charts for me.